And we are live for a new episode of the Electrek podcast. I'm Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintra. How are you doing today, Seth?
I'm good.
All right, we have plenty of news to discuss this week. We're going to start out with the Kia EV Day 2025 that happened earlier this week. We discussed it a little bit last week on the podcast. We had some previews, but now we have the full vehicle. We wanted to have Scooter on the podcast, who was there live at the event, but unfortunately couldn't make it today. He's in the middle of moving right now, so we wish him luck. Then we're going to discuss a little bit about the Tesla. The stock took a hammering this week, 15%. We're going to discuss a little bit about that. Model S and X, new Model Y deliveries in China. Then we have the Volkswagen ID.4 kind of making a little bit of a surge in Europe, impressively. We have a little bit more detail on the Volvo ES90. Same thing for the Xiaomi SU7 Ultra, kind of a crazy vehicle. And then Lucid's earnings were out, so we're going to discuss that a little bit later on the show. And as usual, we're going to take you guys' questions. So if you guys have questions for us, you can put them in the comment section right now, or anytime on the show we are live. And we also taking question now. If you can leave us a 5-star reviews on Apple, and in the comments of that review, we can take questions from the crowd through that too. So that we appreciate when you do that. Only if you enjoy the show, of course. All right, let's jump right into the Kia EV Day 2025. So Kia, much like Hyundai, the Korean automakers are very much still focused on electric vehicle, despite the little pushback in North America that's happening right now. That is, worrying some automakers, especially the tariff wars and all that. Kia is very much committed on continuing its full force approach to all electric vehicles. And the EV Day on Monday was kind of aliving the entire situation. And we have obviously the EV6 from Kia, the EV9, but now they have the EV3, EV4, and EV5 that are coming, along with a van that we showed a little bit last week. So the EV4, now we have all the details from the event here. We have some pictures from the lineup here if you're watching on YouTube that I can share. The back of the EV4 here. It's kind of a narrow opening compared to the door, but I'm not the biggest fan of Kia's interior design, but I know some people appreciate it. The seats look pretty cool.
Traditional automaker type of interior.
Yeah, they didn't go as minimalist as some other automakers went with the EV transition. The exterior design, though, I'm a giant fan. This is the GT line too. It looks even better, but I do like their exterior design. It's not bad either. It's like a little busy on the steering wheel. I feel like you have just on one side you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 button, 2 scrolls. It's like, But anyway, let's get into the specs here, because we already had a pretty good idea of the vehicle as design. Battery gonna come in a 58.3 kilowatt hour standard range. Long range will be 81.4. That is expected to translate into 430 kilometers, 267 miles of range for the standard 58, and 630 kilometers, 292 miles of range for the long range version at 81 kilowatt hour. But that's obviously WLTP, doesn't account for climate controls and all that. So we expect the EPA range to be lower, but not by that much. Also, I should mention that Kia at the event finally confirmed that the EV4 will make it to North America. They were hinting in that direction, but they finally confirmed it now. They also unveiled the EV3, but the EV3 will not be coming to North America, unfortunately. It's a smaller vehicle, and they think that the North American market just don't want it. The long-range hatchback version will also get 590 kilometers of range, 267 miles on WLTP. They talk about a drag coefficient of 0.23, which is pretty good. The front motor is 150 kilowatt, and the single motor version enable 0 to 62 miles per hour, 100 kilometers an hour, 7.4 seconds with a standard pack, 7.7 on the long range with a bigger battery. It's using the EMGP platform that we already know from Kia and Hyundai. 10 to 80% charge in 31 minutes. You save another 2 minutes if you have the smaller battery pack, and it comes with all the vehicle to load, vehicle to grid capability that we've known Hyundai Kia for. It's going to be produced out at their Evo plant in Korea, and they are planning for starting capacity of 160,000 units, which about half of which is going to come to North America, they think. So the MSRP has only been released in Europe so far, 37,000 euros. So it's not the cheapest car either. Well, I guess US now is basically in parity to euros, I think. So it should be similar. So it's not too bad. They also unveiled this EV2 concept. And it looks very concepty, but they do say that the production version is going to be similar. So we've been expecting the EV2 as like their $30,000, or I should say euros, because it's probably going to just be for the European market also, vehicle. You can get an idea of the size of it at least. Here you actually have the dimension, 4,000 millimeters length, 1,800 millimeters width, 1,500 height, and a wheelbase of 2,500 millimeters. I think this is coming 2026, while the production, 2026, $30,000 version. They were the PV5 too that were there. We have the specs on that too. We kind of showed it to you. That we can show you some new images, but we already went through the podcast on a lot of images on that. But you have like a new version here for the accessibility for wheelchair. We didn't have any interior shot last time, so we have some interior look at it here. You know, a bit ID Buzz kind of reminds me of, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
That's the cargo version right here. Flat back. Interesting. Spec-wise, you have two options. Okay, let me understand. Choice of a 51.5 kilowatt hour or 71.2 kilowatt hour NMC battery pack for all version, plus the option of an additional 43.3 kilowatt hour LFP battery in the PV5 cargo. So I guess you can get the passenger version with a 51 or 71 battery pack, and you can get the cargo version in a 51, 71 NMC battery pack if you want, or a 43.3 LFP battery pack. Interesting. Curious of the range of a 43.3 kilowatt hour. And, well, I mean, it's for cargo, so I guess it's for like some short range delivery application in cities. It's not too bad. The largest pack, the 71 kilowatt hour pack, is going to be good for 249 miles of range, 400 kilometers. So you can expect significantly less for all the other versions. They haven't released the specs for that. Well, the range, expected range. It's a new entry in the van sector, which is starting to get populated quite a bit. I have a starting price of 35,000 euros. Okay, so that's not too bad. So that's going to be for the the cargo at 43 kilowatt hour with the LFP, I would assume. Production is expected to begin in between 2025 and 2026, so relatively soon. Should hit the markets in Europe and Korea in July this year. Okay, and then the conversion models will come 2025, 2026. Okay, that's what I got. But yeah, the star of the show was definitely the EV4. I think that's going to be the most impactful vehicle unveiled this week. Though the EV3 is also going to be likely popular in other markets in Europe and Asia, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, Kia's got a solid lineup of EVs now. I mean, I would almost say next to Tesla, maybe they've got the fullest lineup, and even Tesla that doesn't have quite as many steps. up and down.
And then if you combine Kia with Hyundai together, their sister
Right.
companies, then it's even larger lineup, even though they are quite similar in their segments, but they're still different.
Yeah.
All right, Tesla had a big week on the stock market this week, and we've been tracking that stock because it's kind of our hope that that if the stock price catches up to the fundamentals of the stocks, that the shareholder will get motivated to recognize that Elon Musk has deviated the company from the mission to accelerate the advance of electric transport, which is our mission to at Electrek. And we recognize Tesla as being the biggest force in the world for that for the longest time. But now that they deviated from that, we see it as a major contributor to the slowdown in growth of electric vehicle and slowdown in Tesla's own deliveries too, due to Elon Musk's mistake and social media addiction and and a lot of other things that's happening right now, getting weirder and weirder by the day. But one thing that I want to highlight is like what's happening right now with Tesla stocks. And I know it's up today by 4%, whatever. I haven't checked it since we went live, but it's down 50, even with being up today. I think it's down like 15% today. Went back under $1 trillion. For $1 trillion company to be down 15% in a week, it is obviously significant. So I want to highlight that Elon is actually predicting what's happening right now with the Tesla stock. Back in 2021, if you remember, late 2020, early 2021, Tesla stock was hitting like new record price to earning ratios over 500. I think it hit like 1,000 for a little bit. And at that time, Elon, we obtained an email that Elon sent to its Tesla employees in which he was warning them that if Tesla doesn't show profit growth, earnings growth, the stock will get, and this is world, smashed like a soufflé by a sledgehammer. And that's quite simple. It's like you cannot be. I know you don't like when you refer to Tesla as an automaker, but it's still very much an automaker, even though it's also a technology company. You cannot maintain over 100 of price to earning ratio for long if you don't actually show earnings growth, because they go together. Crazy price earning ratio means expected crazy earning growth, which I know like Elon is putting like a little bit further down the line with the robots and the self-driving and all that, but we've been very skeptical about some of those programs. Short term, Tesla was in the recent past showing earnings growth quite rapidly, but that has stopped over the last year. So the situation that happened in 2020, 2021, it's kind of happened again. But now the difference is that Tesla is not showing those earning growth, with earnings being down last quarter, earnings expected to be down this quarter too. So that's why we're seeing now the stock coming down. It's like people are like realizing, okay, maybe this needs to catch up to the fundamentals here. But the crazy truth about this here is even at these levels now, trading at around $300. I can let me share this down. So it did go up now to let me see if it's up to date. Yeah, 293. It's up basically 4% today, but way down from the all-time high of December. I think what's clear here is like this was the anomaly here. This crazy increase following the elections. I think there was no significant news from Tesla during that time, no significant positive news at least. So I think what this was an anticipation of the Trump administration being good for Tesla, either through policies, which nothing points to that right now, or, and that's the weirdest part, collusion between Trump and Elon, which that there is evidence of. Like, yes, probably it has, at very least, the Trump administration has de-risked Tesla's federal legal issues, which they were plenty of. So that's a positive, but like it's the removal of a negative. It's not, doesn't change anything about the fundamentals. So I think people are like realizing now, okay, maybe Tesla needs to come down closer to the fundamentals here because the price to earning ratio is still crazy. But the craziest part is that at these levels, Tesla is still trading at 140 plus price to earning ratio. And I expect, and most people do expect, this quarter to be quite bad with lower deliveries, the changeover to the new Model Y. Earnings should be a lot worse. Tesla not having accumulated credit, ZEV credit like they did for last quarter. All these things, not the crazy bump in Bitcoin. Actually, Bitcoins are way down. I don't know how that works. By the way, I need to ask an accountant about that. Like, since Tesla recognized a $600 million benefit from Bitcoin last quarter, do they do they recognize a loss with the Bitcoins being like down like 30% to 20% in the last few weeks? I don't know. But anyway, without all of that, the earnings will be quite bad. And now if Tesla doesn't come down another, 30 to 40% until the earnings, the price to earning ratio will shoot back up to like 300, and that's nuts. So I think people should be very careful around the Tesla stocks, I think, for the next quarter. And hopefully, I've never thought I would be, rooting for Tesla stock to go down, but I think this is what Tesla needs right now for shareholders to wake up. And you've seen, I've been on X a little bit, like trying to gauge the shareholder sentiment, and a lot of them now are getting unhappy and are already like, especially with the Elon's email to government employee, like, what are the 5 things you did in the last week to justify your job? A lot of people are like, how about Elon? You do that for Tesla. What have you done for Tesla in the last week? Like, it's a good point because the guy is like living in DC right now. All right, moving on from the Tesla stock. We have Lars Marvovi, the senior VP of engineering at Tesla, that went on the Ride the Lightning podcast last weekend. Wasn't that much news that came out of it. The biggest one really was that he said to expect a Model S and X refresh later this year, which is kind of surprising. But I mean, it's not surprising that Tesla would do a refresh. Last one was 2021. Time flies. So it's been 4 years already. So the timing is actually good for that. But it's weird that he would announce it like that. Maybe it was a slip up or something, because Tesla generally don't like to talk about refreshes because the Osborne effect, they would affect sales normally. But in this case, the Model S and X sales are already like kind of in the dumpster. So I don't think he cares that much about that. Competition on the top of the market is pretty hard. Like, you have the Lucid, you have the Rivian mostly for the Model X though, because they don't have a sedan to compete. But Audi, like the Audi A6 now coming out, like that's also a big competitor to Model S, I think. BMW, Mercedes also have plenty of competition top market in the sedans and in the bigger SUVs. So I'm not surprised that Tesla would need a refresh there. No details, of course, about it, but I don't know what you expect, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a light bar and a little bit more minimalist interior. Maybe bringing back the shifter, the turn signal, not the shifter, but
I mean, anything at this point.
Maybe some efficiency improvement, longer range to compete with Lucid, something like that would be nice.
Yeah, I guess Lucid would be where I'd be looking at if you're looking for where things are going next.
As a benchmarking the Air, basically.
Yeah.
Model Y deliveries have started. The new Model Y have started in China this week. First few deliveries of the launch editions. But we are trying to gauge demand right now, and it's not looking too good, to be honest with you, because I just checked the design studio today, and the rear-wheel drive version, the cheapest version of the new Model Y, you can place a new order right now and get a delivery in 2 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, depending on where you are. So that's for new deliveries, new orders, being placed. So something to keep an eye on. And it's 6 to 10 weeks if you order the long range all-wheel drive version. So this one is looking to have like pretty decent demand. But the rear-wheel drive, the cheapest version, is the most popular one, and this one is actually quick turnaround. Looking at the insurance data, Tesla in China, it looks like Tesla is about 7,000 units behind the same period last year. It will need to deliver over 50,000 cars in March to catch up and to get similar levels of delivery as last year, and hopefully more than that for Tesla, because Tesla is going to be down quite significantly in Europe. probably North America also. So China is kind of the game changer for them. Like it's the market that's the most stable, that's has the most volume, also obviously. But I don't know. We'll track the deliveries closely in March, because any kind of slip up for the new Model Y will be extremely impactful this quarter.
Yeah, and I think Model Y has probably the most competition of anywhere in the world, with all of China's low cost, like very very capable cars from BYD and others, NIO, etc.
Yeah. The thing that's really saving them, I think, right now is like Xiaomi has only has their sedan, because the Model 3 cells are not doing well in China, and I think a lot of them went to Xiaomi instead. But they haven't launched their SUV yet. They're launching it soon. When they do, I think the Model Y is gonna have like real competition, because people are loving this car so far. Yeah, this was news that a lot of people picked up this week, that Tesla has applied for the ride-hailing service permit in California, but it's only for ride-hailing service. So like a la Uber, Lyft, and whatnot. It's not for self-driving. So Tesla has not applied for a self-driving permit yet, which it needs in California, unlike in Texas. So Tesla has always managed to get around that by just saying that they're using their level 2 system that is not truly self-driving, but with a driver being responsible. So people are expecting maybe Tesla is going to launch the service like that, because if you remember last year, Elon announced that Tesla will launch unsupervised self-driving in Texas and California in Q2 2025. We threw a little bit of cold water on that announcement, because we are expecting that Tesla was going to not when Elon has talked about unsupervised self-driving in the past, he's talked about, Tesla customer vehicles finally being unsupervised self-driving, robo-taxi level and all that, and you can, the responsibility shifting from the driver to Tesla. This is not what's happening. It's when he said California and Texas, we thought, all right, he's going to launch some kind of geofence internal fleet that's teleoperated, or at least teleoperation supported in a very specific area. Sure enough, last month at the earnings, or before the earnings, also I think that was originally announced at the robotaxi event, and then at the earnings he clarified it that this service will launch in Austin in June, and the comments that he added to that confirmed that yes, indeed, this is what we talked about. It's not the unsupervised self-driving for customer vehicles. But then he stopped talking about California, because originally there was that Texas and California in Q2. But he did say that he expect most markets to get on supervised self-driving sometime later this year or next year. But this is very close to what he's been saying every year for the last decade. So it's not, we don't put a lot of weight on that. But now Bloomberg has identified that Tesla applied late last year for with the California Public Utility Commission for a permit of a charter party carrier. So this is like Uber and Lyft, but only for an internal fleet. So Uber and Lyft, kind of anyone can apply to use their car on their service. This is for a company-owned fleet, which not too surprising. We know Tesla, that was Tesla's plan. But Tesla has not applied for any robotaxi driverless service. However, I think there's a path for them to use that specific permit, just having a driver on the driver's seat, and saying that it's level 2, and saying that the driver is responsible even though the car is driving, whatever. I think that is the plan right now. That's what it looks like. But this is just an application, by the way. It's not hasn't been approved yet. Oh yeah, a little update. We've been kind of giving like a weekly update on the Tesla protest. We said that they looked like they were gaining momentum. Last weekend, I looked at a bunch of videos from the protests all around the especially the US, but there's some in other countries too. And they were bigger than the week before that. So it's not like a one weekend type of thing. It's something that's building up. And we can even let's look at the plan one if there's some this weekend. So you can look at Tesla takedown on the Action Network. And yep, looks like there's plenty of them. Some of them in Europe, but plenty of them. Like, let's look. So you had one set. You sent me an image from one in your neighborhood in New York. Let's see if there's
New York, Francisco.
So there's one that's March 16. That's in Connecticut. The store in Brooklyn has one March 1st, so that's tomorrow. The one in the meatpacking district also March. So there's plenty of them planned for this weekend. Next weekend in New Jersey. Let's look at California. A ton of them planned for California. Let's see. In San Francisco. March 1st. March 5th in Palo Alto. You have one here in Seaside, California, also tomorrow. Ton of protests, and from like I said, from the images I got from last weekend, they were getting bigger. The one in Seattle apparently even shut down the store. It was so big, so many people turned up that it shut down the store. So it's actually like working and trying to affect Tesla's operation, which is surprising. We did report though that it's unfortunate that like this is nice. Like this is like people exercising their free speech rights, but we see also a lot of vandalism like this here. That was in Utah, a supercharger station that was graffitied with. So that's actual vandalism, and it's not far from ideal. And also we have seen a lot of cars being vandalized, including Tesla's own, but some that are owner's car. And I want to be careful here because, like, I understand the frustration. Depending on your view on Elon Musk and what he's doing in the U.S. government, it can be like scary to a degree for some people. But this is not going to work. First of all, if you like see a woman burn down Tesla vehicles at a dealership, for example, there's a thing called insurance. So like Tesla is gonna. This is good for Tesla. Like it's cars that they weren't able to sell. Now they can just claim the insurance money from their insurance. So that's not gonna hurt Tesla. And then if you're vandalizing owners' cars, like you don't know what this person is going through right now. You don't know. Maybe they are not in a position to sell their cars. A lot of people are, and a lot of people are doing it, and that'll also result in the price of used Tesla vehicle crashing right now. And some people, maybe they cannot afford to sell their car and take a loss, and then having to buy a more expensive cars or whatever. So be reasonable, and try to express your discontent with Tesla. Try to convince people not to buy one, to sell their stock, whatever. If you think that this is a good way to affect Elon, because Elon used Tesla as his piggy bank. But other than that, like let's be reasonable, folks. Right, that was our little update on the weekly Tesla protests. Now the Volkswagen ID.4, it just overtook for January the Model Y as the best-selling car in Europe. So that's kind of surprising here. They kind of by a lot too. Like it's up 195% to 7,177 units in January, beating Tesla at 6,000. Obviously, one of the big reasons it beat Tesla is because it's down 46%. But the ID.7 also up 657. I'm sure that last year was just peanuts that they delivered, but still almost 6,000 units for the ID.7. That's pretty impressive for Europe that the ID.7 is doing that well. It's a bigger car, but ID.4 is also not a small car. The Kia EV3 already doing 6,000 units. That's really good too. ID.3 still doing very well too at 5,000 units. The X30, it's out there, 4,000 units. The European market is so different. It's like Tesla is really taking a beating there. Now you see the year-over-year sales too. But congrats to VW. All right, we have a few more news items to discuss, and then we'll jump into the comment section. I see we already have quite a few, but if you have a question for us, it can be about any of the topics that we're discussing today or any other topics in the EV world that you want to take on. You can put it in the comment section right now, and we're going to get to it in just a few minutes. So I've been following the ES90 that much on Volvo. Like I thought the unveiling was this week, but we don't have a full unveiling. We just have a few teaser images, but we do have specs.
And the teaser images look pretty good. Like I have to say, they look very aerodynamic. I think I've seen a few with like the bump in the front with the LiDAR. Obviously, it's a Volvo. It's going to be super safe, but it also looks pretty smooth, like a nice round top, probably very aerodynamic.
Yeah, it's gonna have the latest NVIDIA driving computer in there. So the specs that were announced, like again, not all the specs were announced because they still like feed dropping us the information. 435 miles, 700 kilometers of WLTP range. That's very good. So EPA will be most likely well over 350. The 3-row, okay, no, that's the EX90 here. Okay, fast charging. So this is going to be using the new 800-volt system from Volvo, and it's expected to give you over 185 miles, 200 kilometers in just 10 minutes of charging.
Solid.
Yeah, very impressive. Of course, we want to see a full charging curve because that's but we should expect something similar to like the Hyundai. Hyundai is like one of the leaders in charging because of that. So
yep,
you should expect that. So that's the only like tidbits of information. When is the full unveiling on this? Is March 5?
They're doing a slow drop. Like every week they drop out like another teaser image, another spec.
No, I remember Volvo is very much like that. Yeah, I remember. Like it's not the first time they've done that.
Yeah.
But March 5th is the full unveiling. So by next week's podcast, we should be able to give you all the details on the ES90. But Seth is right. I think I like the teaser images. I hope that it holds up for the production version.
Yeah, it's a solid vehicle, so far. Anyway.
Speaking of solid vehicle, like this looks like Porsche Taycan from the side later a little bit. Not the front end. The front end is a little bit different, but the Xiaomi SU7 Ultra. Am I pronouncing that right? Xiaomi? Is that right?
Xiaomi, yep.
Xiaomi, okay. So the SU7 is the sedan that's taken over the Chinese market now. Strong competition to the Model 3. But the Ultra was teased a little bit earlier this year, but now it's been launched, and it's the top of the line version with everything in there, over 1,500 horsepower in that thing. It's not cheap though. It's 7,500 the equivalent, because it's only in China, but it's the equivalent of $7,500, $75,000, excuse me. So it's more expensive than the Model 3 Performance, for example, but it is much more powerful at 1,500 horsepower. The 0 to 60 was a release. Well, excuse me, they're using kilometers an hour, so it's 100 kilometers an hour, so 62 miles per hour in 1.98 seconds. So it's probably going to be a solid 1.9 second on the 0 to 60, and that's incredible. Like for a vehicle, like it's similar to like Model S Plaid level, but in a $20,000 cheaper vehicle.
Yeah, we were talking earlier. We were talking earlier about where the new Model S and X have to be, and this is also something that they have to think about.
Yep, definitely. They apparently got $3,600 in the first 10 minutes, but I think they released a new number for that.
No? I would also say though, like in terms of 0 to 60 time, like we're getting to the point where it's the tires are the problem, or it's just like you just don't want to go any faster. You can't safely.
Yeah, I agree. I cannot zoom on these pictures for some reason. That's weird. It's actually similar in size to the Porsche Taycan Turbo GT, so that's not too surprising.
I mean, I imagine they probably just got a Porsche Taycan GT in the lab, and they were like, "Make this, but faster."
It comes with a 93.7 kilowatt-hour battery pack, which get only 385 miles of range, 620 kilometers. I would expect more on that pack, but again, it's because of the performance. Like you're gonna lose some efficiency on there too. They are now have 6,900 orders for this, so that's deliveries are expected to begin in April. So this is the new like top of the line performance electric car to beat in China. That's not a supercar. That's not like a 6-figure low production volume vehicle. Like they're gonna make 10,000 of those, and they're probably gonna make them this year. Like they've been so good at ramping up production, Xiaomi. I wouldn't expect. I wouldn't be surprised if they deliver those this year.
Fred, we got to go to China, man.
I really want to, man. I think it would be exciting. Maybe we should reach out to Xiaomi, see if they can show us around in China. That'll be cool.
Yeah, we have some contacts from the Google group, so because they make phones too.
Oh yeah. You should hook us up. All right. Lastly, let's talk a little bit about Lucid before we jump into the comment section. So Lucid had their earnings this week, and the earnings were not too bad. Honestly, they were pretty good. It's not too surprising, but the stock plummeted, and that's because Lucid CEO Peter Rawlinson announced that he's stepping down. There's no too much details about it. They are looking for a new CEO, and the COO is taking over in the interim. But there's a shakeup of leadership right now, and it's affecting the company. But they're going in the right direction, and the biggest takeaway from the earnings was the guidance for 2025. So they had about 9,000 deliveries, I think, for the full year. 10,200 deliveries in 2024, and now they are aiming for 20,000. So they're aiming to double the deliveries in 2025, and that's obviously because of the Gravity. So they started deliveries of the Gravity, and they are slowly ramping things up. And obviously the SUV in the North American market is expected to sell a lot more. They reduced their losses still quite a bit, and they are still sitting on a lot of money. So they're probably good for the next 3 years, I think they said. So they are losing money fast, but with this year, delivery volumes coming, economies of scale, they should be able to reduce their losses and try to survive a little bit longer. But it looks like the Saudis are kind of taking a step back a little bit. They sold not a big part of their stake, but they sold a little bit. So they might be their piggy bank might be closing. Not that they absolutely need it, because like I said, they're still sitting on a lot of cash, but still something to keep an eye on.
It's good to have the piggy bank.
Yes, it is. All right, let's jump into the comment section.
All right, Skeptic says, I'm hoping there's some non-political EV news this week. There was.
There were plenty.
Question. Will Tesla ever update their urban superchargers above the current 72 kilowatts? It's getting pretty overrun here in Brooklyn. I mean, I think that depends kind of on infrastructure, right? Like that they're only 72 kilowatts, because I think it's hard to get that kind of electric infrastructure in those garages and stuff.
I think they also meant maybe more for not necessarily overnight charging, but longer period of time charging. So it's not really made for that. The New York situation was very affected by Elon firing the entire charging team last year. So I know that they had a bunch of project plan that they kind of give up on right away, and now they had to change their strategy. I think there's still a few of them planned right now, but it's not looking good. And maybe in the second half of the year, when the supercharger V4 are coming out at 500 kilowatts, then you'd get your wish here. It's going to be a lot faster, but at the same time, 500 right now is just for the Cybertrucks.
Yeah. All right. Peter Rawlinson leaving Lucid is the biggest news this week. They were already not showing strong prospects of surviving. Saudi Arabia can't make a failing company succeed with cash. I don't necessarily subscribe to all that.
Yeah.
But, obviously the founder and head of a company leaving is a big deal. I don't know if Lucid's...
I mean, Lucid still, Peter delivered a lot of great technology at Lucid. Lucid is the efficiency leader now. I think they're well set up with the Gravity. I'm sure that Peter already did a ton of work on the next generation, mass market vehicles too. So now it's on the team to deliver on the Gravity and then move on to the higher volume vehicle. And obviously also Lucid has kind of hinted that they want to shift over to a little bit as a supplier, powertrain supplier kind of business model. So we'll see about that. Also, they already have, I think, the Aston Martin contract and a few others. So we'll see. But I don't think that's it's too early to say that they failed, I think.
Yeah, maybe that's part of the reason the shifted strategy might be part of the reason that he's leaving. There's somebody who can do that
Yeah.
better. All right, Skeptic says the Kia PV5 could open up the EV market to wheelchair-bound drivers. Kia is advertising the PV5 with a wheelchair-accessible version. Well, that's great news. I mean, I hadn't thought about that, and I would have thought the e-Transit or the NV200 Nissan, or I mean, even the Volkswagen Buzz could do something like that. But
I think a lot of them can be modified for it. Like I think any car basically can be modified for it, but maybe not any, but depending on the format. But I think this Kia might be just putting this, advertising it, and like maybe they have their own version exactly that you don't need any retrofit for. So that's cool. We're all for that.
Martin Hughes, great podcast as usual. Unbiased reporting. Thanks, Martin. Thank you. I'm impressed with just the Kia range of choices now. It looks a bit like an experiment exploring what people may want. I mean, I don't know. Kia is pretty far along in there. I don't think they're.
But I think what he might meant is like Kia is big and Hyundai too on the rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, standard pack, big pack. You can have 1-2 motors for both version, the standard, long range. A lot of automakers, they limit a lot of that. Kia and Hyundai have been pretty open about that, so you can. I do like the options personally. I do like that you can like just get exactly what you want out of a car. So.
All right, delving into politics a little bit. What's happening with Trump, Vance, Musk in Ukraine? I thought Europe wouldn't hate leaders more. I was wrong, dead wrong. I mean, I guess it's sort of related to.
Have you seen the video today
crazy.
on the?
The video is crazy.
I could it was hard to watch. I couldn't believe what was happening.
I'm so sorry to our European.
Watchers. Watching the video, I could almost see the strings attached to Vance and Trump and like Putin, like just like it was so obvious. It was like I couldn't believe it.
Anyway, I wrote it in a couple of Waymos this week. Incredible. Anyone
That's
tried
nice.
Waymo? Yeah, they're so cool. Like everybody, and they're just there. Like it's here now. Like it last year.
To be fair, it's not cheap yet. At least like I've checked in LA, for example. Like I've used them in LA, and I looked at like on Uber. You see the Ubers like X, Uber Comfort, Uber whatever, and you see the Waymo. And Waymo, in my experience, was always a little bit more expensive. So it's not. It's not at the level that's super. It makes sense that much yet, but you can see them getting there soon. Like I think the next generation that they're talking about, they want to slash the cost of their hardware like by half almost or something like that. So it's it's gonna get there fast, and maybe it's gonna get there before Tesla.
Yep. At Scrumfingle, that's up for a different channel. They're probably. And you put your comment on the create what discussion you want. All right. All right. Sorry.
That's political discussion, I think. Yeah.
All right. Question: can you do a rundown of vehicle to home setups from install to use, similar to the solar roof articles? Yeah, there's not a lot of vehicle to home setups now. One product we really like is the what is that? The Quasar 2 that more than a few companies can use. I mean, Ford and GM all have their kind of proprietary stuff, but
Tesla too.
Tesla obviously is in the vehicle to home space, but there's like a brand. What is that? Box.
Quasar is Wallbox.
Yeah, Wallbox.
Well, like Quasar, like I know someone, a friend of mine tried to get one installed in Quebec, and he couldn't even get it installed. Like there's a lot of places it's not approved yet. Like it's not. There's still a lot of issues. Like spikes, I agree. Like I'll look into it, but right now it's still like so limited that it's hard to make sense. Like I think the biggest the installations right now, like those that are getting some volume, is probably like Ford with the Ford Power setup with the Lightning, and Tesla with the Cybertruck. Those are there's actually real installations of that going on, but there's no like I think there should be like a standardization of that, so that that you can just buy a system, have it handshake with the vehicle, and that's it. But we're still not quite there yet. It's gonna come though. I'm sure it's gonna come.
Yeah. All right. I wish Lucid could already fill the gap that Tesla's leaving with their upcoming midsize models. Yeah, I don't know.
There's already, but there's other, like Lucid, like maybe if like I'm sure Lucid is doing great right now with like Model S owners that like want to get rid of their car for political reason, and they go for the Air. But for the Model 3, Model Y, there's already plenty of other option, I think, down market than Lucid, I think.
Yeah. And then Alptronic and Kempower could build wide and working charging network to US as they have in Europe. Yeah, Alptronic, we went to the opening of their US thing. They have big ambitions with a couple new networks as well. Unfortunately, the IRA has kind of been gutted.
Frozen.
So
yeah, they froze the funds.
So I don't know how their businesses are going to hold up on that. I keep trying to remind people that most Tesla owners bought the car before Musk showed his fascist colors, except for Cybertruck owners. They all knew exactly where they were supporting. Yeah, we talk about that a lot because the sticker that the sticker that says "I bought this before Elon went nuts" isn't compatible with the Cybertruck, and then also not the new Model Y either. So if you want to use that sticker that says you bought this before Elon went crazy, you need to buy one of the old Model Ys before they.
At the same time, it depends when you consider him going crazy, because the Cybertruck has been delivered still since like for more than a year now. So there's that. Also, there's people like that. Cybertruck reservation have been going on since 2019. So there's a lot of people that have been like waiting a long time to get the Cybertruck, and they're like, I don't care how many Nazi salutes Elon will do. I still want that truck. Some of them have been disappointed by that, but still. No, I know. I've seen on X today. I've seen they are trying to get popularized a new sticker that says, "I bought this truck before I knew that Elon was awesome." I don't know how many buyers they're gonna get out of that one.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a bestseller.
No.
That's interesting. I mean, I guess everybody has their different moment of when they have their like realization about Elon, right? Like some were like the scuba or the submarine thing, the pedo thing. Other people never were on board.
Yeah. It was the gamers recently. A lot of gamers got the realization moment. Right. Then last week was a lot of the astronauts, a lot of the space nerds when he went after the astronauts.
Yeah, now a lot of government employees.
Yeah. Like
second thought.
Yesterday, he called CNN's legal advisor. He said it was a crime family just because that whole outage that like don't believe everything you read online. Like now, Elon cannot say that because he keeps saying that X is like the number one source of truth in the world. But he should really internalize that saying, because he's just believing anything he says. He retweeted just a random guy that found out that someone with the same name as the legal advisor, I forget his name now, had received millions of dollars from U.S. aid. And so that person claimed that it was his daughter, even though it was not. It's just someone with the same last name. So Elon said that it was a crime family because that guy from CNN is leading a few lawsuits against Doge. So it's like, okay, the reason he leads this lawsuit is because his daughter is getting millions from US aids, which is not true. So he called him a crime family for that. It's just, he's one of the most misinformed person in the world right now. It's insane. Oh, that's a good question from Electric Brian. Oh, you skipped it.
Oh, sorry. Is the new solid state battery in the EQS anything to get excited about, or strictly a concept? I believe it's this 620 miles of range. We saw this. I think if they can scale it, it's going to be great. But
yeah,
we haven't.
It is by definition a concept. So you're right, Brian. But they're working with fractional, I think, Mercedes. And fractional is getting pretty close to commercial production. Like I think they're just a few years away. So it's a concept for now, but we've been talking about solid state batteries for 10 years or so now, and it's not hydrogen, it's not fuel cell, the technology of the future. It is actually happening. So between fractional, between quantum scape, solid power, they're all solving like the last few issues one by one. And I do think that by the end of the decade, so 2029, 2030, I know that Hyundai and Kia just pushed their own ambition for solid state to 2030. So probably around that time does make sense. You're going to see the first commercial, the first vehicle that you can buy with solid state batteries. They're going to be most likely in the upper end of the market, which EQS would make sense. And yeah, you're gonna see actual cars getting extremely long longevity, and 500 plus mile range quite easily. That's going to be exciting. But I think it's too much though. 620 miles of range is like, it's a bit much.
Nobody
and
needs
an
that.
EQS too, like it's a big sedan.
Yeah, make it like 400 miles of range, cheaper,
lighter.
Yeah, come on.
I would buy that in a second.
Yeah. Skronkfinkel has the charging network grown in the US like it has in Europe? Is it still mostly EA and Tesla? It's growing, but not like Europe.
No, that's the right answer. It's like it is growing, but like Europe, nah. It's not just EA and Tesla now. I mean, Tesla, yes, Tesla is the biggest one, the most extensive, the most useful. But it's not just EA. You have plenty of EV2. You have plenty of charge point stations. What are the others in the US? I know them a little bit less, but there's a few others.
Yeah, I mean, there's the Greenlots stuff that moved over, and the not Ionity, it's Iona.
Iona, yeah.
There's a bunch of new ones. So, all right. Which EVs would you recommend to those people who like their Teslas but are trading them in because of Elon? Which EVs might check the same or similar boxes the Model 3 or Model Y do? Interesting you're asking that, because Fred and I are both in the
market.
Trade. Yeah. So I'm personally thinking about going to a Volvo EX30. I like small cars. I don't mind the range hit, slow charging. It's more of a value car than I probably will end up with, but that's kind of where I've been eyeballing lately. I love Kia stuff. I love like on the high end, Mercedes EQE, EQS both look pretty solid. But I don't know if I want to spend that kind of money. And of course, every time I drive a Porsche Taycan, I'm pretty tempted. What about you?
I mean, Porsche Taycan would be my go-to for sure if it was within my means. But like in Canada, it's insane the prices of these things. In the US too, it's not cheap. But I mean, a lot of those make sense. Personally, for me, like I'm thinking like if I can hold on for like an R2 and even an R3, that would be. I'm really looking forward to these cars. And the main thing that's, because I think for everything other than ADAS, the people have caught up to Tesla, like everything. So first of all, if you're not big on ADAS, like if you're like, I know some people that don't even use cruise control, like they're like, but if you're not big on ADAS system, and there's some other good system, especially if you go with GM or the Super Cruise, with even Ford also, like has a decent system on the highway. They're not none of them, I think, compared to Tesla, but they are getting pretty good. You have plenty of option basically. Now, if you're a giant fan of autopilot and all that, and you're using a lot, all of these going to be a giant grade. What I'm interesting to look into, honestly, and I've seen our friend Snazzy Lab doing that in Utah, is using, he did it with his Rivian. He's installed, so maybe you should try that set, especially since you have a first gen. The Open Pilot,
Comma,
yeah.
I saw that.
It could be interesting. So I'm open to upgrading sooner maybe with Open Pilot from Comma in there, because they are doing pretty good on the highway. And I don't care about FSD in the city street. Like it's more stressful than anything else.
Yeah, I wish I had known about the Comma's requirements before I purchased my Bolt, because apparently with the higher end Chevy Bolts, the Comma AI works really well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a little computer you put on your dashboard, like a dash cam.
It's a phone, basically. It's like,
Yeah.
I know it's not officially a phone now, but at first it was. Now they modified it a little bit, but it's
Right.
based on the phone, basically.
All right, moving on. Has anyone been in the Afeela by Sony and Honda? I think I saw it at CES. I don't know, like 2 years ago or something. I don't know.
I touched it. I've never been inside. I saw it in Tokyo.
It's a concept, so it doesn't really matter.
But they opened the first store this week too, so now I think you can actually go see it in person. I'm still not sold on that thing. Like I don't know like how where it's gonna fit, but at the same time, like it's kind of like Xiaomi making their thing. So it's like they show that electronics company can definitely get into the space.
Okay. How is it looking for carb states staying the course to 100% ZEV sales by 2025?
Pretty good. Pretty good, because the last time Trump tried to kill carb and it didn't work, he lost in court. So I would assume the same thing would happen this time. But at the same time, he's like, he doesn't seem to care about the courts anymore. And Elon has made it clear now that
Courts are traitors.
Yeah, so he wants to impeach a bunch of judges. So you never know. Maybe the U.S. indeed becomes a complete authoritarian regime, and they can take away state power, which is also like a very conservative thing. Like the conservative were always like, yeah, more power to the state, smaller federal government. Like now it's like, you the states, you don't get to decide. We get to decide what. Like it's the upside down world in Stranger Thing.
All right. Ian Smith from Facebook says the Volvo sedan looks sweet, but they are Volvo. Give us a station wagon version.
Nah, not in the US. Never.
SUVs.
We went through that. Like, don't blame the media on that. Like, the same thing happened with Audi. Like every auto journalist from the US, from North America out there, were like begging Audi, just bring the A6 event wagon version in the US. And like, no, there's no market for it. And they have a point. It generally doesn't sell. So it's not like, I don't know why.
Auto journalists are enthusiasts. We have particular tastes.
Yeah.
Is Tesla vehicle to grid available for anything other than the Cybertruck? Ridiculous. They released this feature and failed to make it work with their other models. I agree. Like, it's kind of weird that they haven't. I mean, especially with the ability to make some money. That was once kind of a thing. It would be nice to be able to make some money from your car during super peaks. And we've heard that like the cars are hardware capable. They just
rumor. It's rumored since the Powerwall 3, because it's rumored that they use the same inverter in their cars, because they bumped the inverter capacity around the same time and all that. But yeah, so there's a possible that it's like the self-driving, the hardware is capable, but the software hasn't been updated just yet. But we don't know for sure. Tesla is dropping the ball on that, though. If it is if it is capable, all the other automakers are doing it now, and plenty of people see some value in it. So,
all right, Dan Overstay, I waited a long time for Cybertruck, but I canceled it because reasons. Yeah, I think a lot of people are in that boat.
A lot of reasons beyond Musk too, because the price, the range, and all that was not what's promised. So I think a lot more people cancel the Cybertruck reservation for that than they did for Musk.
Musk also showed his crazy what he went to war with governor and California over COVID. That was, for a lot of people, that was the realization point.
Yeah, that was the beginning for a lot of people.
Yeah. Twitter may be the number one source of truth in the world, but unfortunately, it's also the number one source of lies.
Yep.
I mean, it depends on who's reading. I don't know that many people. I don't know it's the number one source of anything anymore.
Yeah.
All right, let's move down a little bit. Tesla, good buying opportunity right now. Do you agree? I do not agree.
I think, like I said, I think Tesla needs to come down another 30 to 50% this quarter. Otherwise, based on my prediction on the earnings, the P&E ratio will shoot back up to 300, and Tesla cannot sustain a price to earning ratio in that level if it doesn't show near-term profit growth. And there's very little opportunity for near-term profit growth. Maybe a little bit in the second half of the year with the new cheaper vehicles, but don't expect any like self-driving revenue, or at least no significant one like this year, or probably even next year. Significant one not for the next like 3 or 4 years probably. So if you don't have that, and you don't have significant vehicle growth to show earning growth,
or robots or any
yeah,
other.
and then even though I'm kind of
I know.
relatively bullish on the robots, it's still also like several years away, I think, for any significant contribution to earnings. So how can you justify a 300 plus price to earning ratio? You can't. I don't think you can.
All right, Sylvian's Blazer EV now, waiting for the new Bolt as a second car to replace the Spark EV.
You're still on the Spark EV.
I'm going to see the Blazer SS in April. So I hope to have a good. They had some software issues. Jamie reviewed that early, but I think I think that should all be ironed out. Besides no CarPlay, but otherwise it should be good. Solid state going from next year to now, protracting to 10 years of that talk. Doesn't make sense to assume 5 more years to solve all the problems. Not a real engineering solution story. Continues.
Yeah, go and continue.
Oh no, that's different.
That's a comma. I mean, I don't. I mean, I'm not an engineer. I'm not a scientist. I cannot go into the details, obviously. But in the last 2 years, we've seen 4 companies test full battery pack made with solid state battery cells, and which we haven't seen before that. So I think it's very much going in the right direction. And QuantumScape has made great progress in the longevity of their cells. Solid power on the electrolyte front also made some great progress. So I see things happening. For, like I said, I would expect 2029, 2030 to have the first vehicle in production that have solid state battery cells. I think that's a reasonable assumption.
All right, causing an accident while using Comma AI is a great way for your car insurance to default on you and use everything to bankruptcy. Yeah, probably keep an eye on Comma AI for the moment. What new small EV SUVs will be coming in the next couple of years? I got to sit in the Alfila. It's in a mall here in Los Angeles.
Oh yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah,
it's like a little pop-up store. But the Alfila is not. I mean, it's kind of it's a small sedan, I guess. Small EV SUVs. I mean, the new Bolt is a lot of people are excited about.
I'm excited about it.
Volvo EX30 is now hitting the North American market. People are excited about that too. What else?
I mean, the Kia, what, EV4?
Yeah, the EV4 is a smaller SUV. Yeah, it makes sense. Smaller hatchback.
I wish they'd bring the Soul to the US. That's kind of crazy they don't.
Well, now it's like the 3, I guess. It's going to be the EV3.
Great.
Yeah, so the EV3 already selling 5,000 units a month in Europe. It's pretty good. Yeah, they should bring that. I think they would if they weren't for the the U.S. Current situation in the U.S. Even though they are building them in Korea, so they can get around the tariffs. But I think for these smaller vehicles like that, yes, the U.S. market is not the North American market, not just the U.S. is not big on smaller cars. But a smaller car is cheaper, and then if there was incentive still, and there still is in the U.S. for now, I think it would sell pretty good. Like a $30,000 EV3 with a $7,500 tax credit at the price of purchase.
Yeah,
obviously, but they will need to be produced in the U.S. for that. So,
all right, let's moving on. One bidirectional ASAP and should be universal. It would be nice if it was universal, but isn't yet. Sylvian Spark 2014 with the 400 foot-pounds of torque. That's more than a lot of Ferraris. I remember when we first started Electrek, that was one of the hot cars that we talked about quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it was the first car with CCS charging, fast
Oh
charging.
yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yes. Had a place in my heart, that car.
Mm-hmm.
Jo says VW ID.1 coming to the US. Unlikely.
Yeah.
It's kind
And
of
then there's the ID.2 before that too, like there's
Yeah.
the little bit bigger ID.2, ID Life, whatever. Even that is not set for the US so far. So if they have an even smaller, cheaper one, I think you can forget it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad, but the North American market now is getting a little bit boring, a little bit more hesitant and all that. But in Europe and in Asia, it's still going strong. So at least we can get some comfort in that. And in Canada, I'm still hoping if, because like not this week too, we didn't report on it really because like it's hard to keep track. But Trump said now that the tariffs are gonna go in place in April 2nd. We'll see about that because he said that the sign last time too, and then he backed out at the last second also. So we'll see. But if they
Fred,
go to
Fred, there are no tariffs if you're the 51st state.
yeah. Yeah, that is not going too well. So well too.
No, I can't imagine it.
Yeah, I mean it's not. He didn't even suggest that is insane. But anyway,
yeah.
If it does go through with the tariffs, which it's I give it like a 50% chance right now. I'm all on board. Like open the doors to China. Like come sell their EVs here and and see what happens. I know there's still a few manufacturing of electric vehicles in Canada that they would be too happy about, but there's really not that many, and all of them are. I think all of them are American companies too. So like, why are we protecting American companies if the U.S. is putting a 25% is going against our free trade agreement and putting tariffs on us? It's like
it's crazy.
Yeah. So maybe the Canadian market will get a little bit more exciting by the end of the year. We'll see. We'll see about that. And then I'm going to be able to drive down. I'm going to drive down to USET, to Vermont, and New York with my Chinese EV. Show it to you. Yeah. You can't buy
That'd
it.
Be awesome.
Well, unless you want to pay 100% tariffs on it.
No, I'll just drive it down. It'll be Canadian.
Yeah, it's not easy to do that either.
Yeah,
all right. That's it for us this week, everyone. I appreciate if you're still listening. If you are still listening, you can give us a like, a thumbs up, whatever it is on the app you're watching. It helps the show a ton. It's free to do, and we appreciate when you do it. Same thing if you're listening on your podcast app right now. If you can give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, that helps the show a ton. And we're going to see you same time, same place next week. Have a fun one. Bye-bye.